Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Taye, what we should to do?
We need to discuss from the question 1 to the last question, and everybody do the draft, right?
Yes. Everybody has written their draft.
Yeah.
So now we can start from the question 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Grammar. Oh, it's
Okay. Let's have a review first. Okay. Part 1 is many ESP courses focus on skills, functions, notions, and content rather than. Sorry, I cannot see the. Rather than what?
rather than on language forms of grammar. In relation to this statement, discuss how important is a focus on grammar in ESP.
Okay, the question 1 is done by Ke-xin and me.
Yes.
So let's talk about this question first. Okay, this is okay. You first.
Oh no. The part I just written that I think the grammar is very important in ASP. But after we discussed, Toya told me grammar also is important, but not the main part of ESP. Yes.
Okay, so our draft is that firstly we must admit the importance of the grammar in ESP. In ESP courses, focusing on grammar is not the most important. It's not the most important, but it's needed. And we think the grammar is the foundation of ESP teaching.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So it said how important is a focus on grammar. So I think that the answer is also yes. The grammar is very important in ESP, right? Because it's our foundation for further study.
Yes. So in general, grammar can basically play 2 parts in ESP learning. One is to enhance comprehensible input, and the other is to monitor effective output. To enhance comprehensible input means that learners use grammar knowledge. They have to learn to solve some puzzles in their ESP reading comprehension. When learners can not understand the meaning of a complicated sentence, they need to analyze the sentence structure. It belongs to grammar. And to monitor effective output means monitoring the oral or written expressions. So to sum up, in learning ESP, grammar can not only help ESP learners construct more
grammar can help learners to construct more accurate sentences and also help them to various structures to express thoughts in ASP communication occasions. So grammar enables students to control the way they shape words into sentences and paragraphs. Yeah, this is our answer for the first question.
Yeah.
Do you agree or have some opposite views?
Yeah, I think we all have agreement.
Yeah, I think it is enough for the question.
Yeah.
Yes, because I think question A is very easy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we
the
don't need
section
to
2.
write so many words about the question A.
Yes.
Tantan and me. Tantan, you
So what
first.
about? Sorry, Shuanglin.
The second question it belongs to me and Tantan. I want to say the
Okay.
Tantan first. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, you can begin. Hello.
Hello.
Who first?
Tantan. Where?
I thought it was you. Okay,
Oh,
let's
you.
say function. As we have mentioned before, function is regarding how language use. Sometimes it's for communicative purpose, such as we needed to ask permission or express our feelings. There's a lot of functions concerned with social behavior, and the function in language also represents the intention of the speaker or writer. So it's approximately equal with the communicative acts that was carried out through language. So when we started in ESP, the students' needs in ESP are not only to learn the basic grammar, but rather to learn how to use the language they already have. So the attraction of the functions in ESP is that appears to be based on language in use. So it's important for ESP students to know how to smooth the pace to entry or greater linguistic efficiency in academic and workplace environments. So that means ESP has functioned to help language learners cope with the futures of language, or to develop the competencies needed to function in a specific discipline. So it states that since language learning is not only acquiring a grammatic structure, but also its function. So ESP course, there's no doubt we should focus action. That's my statement. How about Shuanglin?
I think the function of ESP, the functional view of language is seen from two angles. Firstly, the different types of linguistic inquiry in ESP, description of speech acts, genres, and social interaction formulas used in professional, workplace, or academic environment. Secondly, the attempts made to identify how words are used in particular disciplines, such as economy or law, aviation, to express discipline-specific concepts or what is called terminology. In some The ESP function approach is built on an assessment of purpose need analysis and the functions for which English is required. In fact, as a general rule, when teaching ESP, the four skills, listening, reading, speaking, and writing, are stressed equally. However, in an ESP context, needs analysis plays a vital role in determining which of them is most needed by the students. Yeah, you have mentioned before the function towards learning and language use. So that's all. That's what I want to say.
Okay. So since the ESP designed to meet the specific needs of a learner, so we need to learn to communicate a set of professional skills that, and also to perform particular job-related functions here. So as we have just make an examples here, when we training or teaching hotel staff, the most important is they need to learn the language to ask the customers what they need, and to this is kind of asking permission. So such a communication function here is indebted in the whole ESP courses. Also, it's very useful for our professional skills, and it's also fit in our needs in the job workplace. So I think that's what we think about function.
Exactly. I agree with you, because that's what we were talking about in the first, I think it's first week meeting.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. So I agree with you.
Yeah. So next,
I think your answer is right, but we don't know what doctor think of.
but I think this is open question. We can.
Yes, it's open-ended question.
Yeah, that's our point of view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what about question 3? How important is a focus on skills in ESP?
Okay, let me talk about this question, a focus on skills. As you've mentioned, as Tanta mentioned, the purpose the purpose in ESP class is to develop professional skills. So we think obviously skills plays an important role in ESP, right? So a focus on skills, I think a focus on skills is central in ESP, as we've talked in our first meeting. A focus on skills is central. So skills refers not only to traditional abilities like speaking, listening, reading, writing, and vocabulary, but also some metacognitive skills such as planning, noticing, problem solving, evaluating, and correcting. The key areas are speaking, listening, reading, writing, and vocabulary. It is important to acknowledge that in the class of ESP, they are of course less easily separable. ESP pedagogies have tend to focus on identifying, often through needs analysis, sets of transferable genetic language and literacy skills that are seen to applicable in the majority of academic and workplace settings. More recent approaches, such as academic literacy approach, understand that skills are always located within specific contexts and communities and form of sets of social practices. That is distinct ways of thinking, feeling, believing, valuing, and acting that also shape learner and teachers' identities. So that's our point on skills, and we've given some examples in the field of speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And we've also give some examples. It is very, very long, so I didn't put them on the video, so I don't intend to put it on video. So that's the point of skills.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. You see, the skills is the center of the ESP. It's the main part. Yeah, as we discussed in the first meeting. It's very clear.
Yeah, so that's a point of skills.
Yeah, because all ESP learners wanted to have all the native speaker like competence. So they need very basic skills. Yeah, I think we all agree that.
Yes, and there are some examples according to previous scholars like Christine Fick, like Christine Goff. So I will mention them on our text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do the word film. We can add this reference in.
Yes.
Oh, we forgot one thing. We must add some references at the end of our answer.
Yeah,
Don't forget
I have already put it in.
Yes, yes. Okay, so that's all about
the first question.
First part.
Now
we turn to question 2.
Yeah.
Continue.
We go on.
Okay, question 2 is analyze the ESP course book given by our doctor. And question A is produce a suitable framework for analysis in order to analyze the book. You may refer to DOC, your textbook, and other extended readings. I think this question is the most important one.
Actually, it's about English aviation. So we can find a lot of materials from the internet.
Yes. We found a handbook. Yeah, right.
Yes.
We found many materials and we have already sent it to our WhatsApp group, and Tan complete a draft, and you can share with us your draft.
Yeah. So first of all, we needed to know the content of the book, the book that the teacher given us. So the book is organized in the sequences of a flight, starting with an introductory unit, followed by pre-flight, grounded movements, departure, cruising, and en route events, contact and approach, landing, and end of flight ground movements. All these are as a procedure when you're doing air air flights. Yes, because you know departure, the landing. This professional words is very familiar for us, right? So this book is designed for flights and air traffic controllers to improve their English. Also, each unit in this book consists of practical exercise, also listening examples, industrial specific texts, as well as numerous photos and illustrations, so that will help learners to acquire key vocabulary and expressions. Also, I have to emphasize that there are really place in this book. I think this kind of exercise are really helpful because learners can put all they have learned into practice. And besides, each unit closed with an output activity. That's an article related to the topic of it, and followed by questions for reflection and discussion. So we can see from all the content in the book that we can conclude that this book sets up open questions. So it's in the process of performing the learning tasks, the learners will pay attention to the language communication and also require some information through the communication. So we can see that the whole book is all about how to perform language communication in the whole air flight stages. After I read some related materials, I have find some very consistent with our book. That is a task-based instruction in ESP curriculum development. I think this is very suitable for this book. Yes, it's also being approved by you guys last week, right? So in this document, in this question, I just use a task-based approach. Also, I find a related research, which is done by William. He has proposed analysis framework for the task-based learning, which is the main focus in our own analysis framework. So I just adopt his method, which is the 3-stage task-based. But here I made some adjustments, which I transfer them into 4 stages. The first stage is lead in. That is we first need to know the background knowledge corresponding to this unit. So then the task-related words and sentence will be blended. by different kind of tasks, such as reading, discussion, or audio-visual speaking. And next, the second stage, that is language strengthening. This is for strengthening for the practice of learning skills and for critical thinking according to the corresponding situation. For example, the sound recording of the airport broadcast can help students fully feel the atmosphere of the airport and effectively focus their attention. So that will help them strengthen their language skills. And the third stage is about task execution. This part is very interesting because it will stimulate students' interest in learning and deep experience and promote their digestion and absorption ability. For example, in the united process of scheduling, airline flight time and schedule are implemented. So learners can play a role so as to arrange airline flight time and schedule. And virtually founding seniors are used for communication in English. The last stage is a self-feedback stage. I think this part is very important because once you learn, after you learn, if you don't trace back to find your own problems, I think that will make a little improvement. But after you self-feedback, when you trace back to look yourself's behavior and you will find a lot of problems and you can improve it specifically. So according to all the task execution stage, each unit you can be evaluated. So that will helpful for learners to gain from learning experience. So that's all the main part of the task-based language learning process.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this answer is just like what we discussed, and
yeah.
Very thank you for the draft that Tan worked so hard to finish that. Thank you so much. And the answer, I think, is very excellent. How do you feel about that, guys?
Tan gives them more detailed, more deep comprehension of the task-based approach, and he adopted and adapted to the
she.
Yeah. She adopted and adapted to the three-stage task-based language learning proposed by William. I think that's very excellent based on our book.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Let's see what you have done.
Okay, next question.
Based on your analysis, comment to what extent the coursebook focus on skills. Make a list of skills and sub-skills featured in the book. As we've discussed, and we can know that the book has several units taking students from pre-flight checks through the flight path to switching of the engines, with all content aligned to ICAO. Events covered include, as Tan mentioned, ground movements, departure, cruising contact, and approach and landing. The course supports standard phraseology and helps to improve students plain English in the skill areas specified by ICAO, such as pronunciation, structure, vocabulary, fluency, comprehension, and interaction. So based on our analysis framework, skills improvement is, we think, skills improvement is the most important goal of this book, as we've discussed in the meeting. Skills improvement is the most important goal. So the skills are mainly focused on 4 traditional aspects: listening, speaking, reading, and some sub-skills of listening. And I gave some examples. The first is sub-skills of listening. The first one is building a receptive knowledge of spoken, general, academic, and technical vocabulary. For example, in the listening part of the book given by the doctor, here is a part named listen and repeat. And the students are required to listen the ICU alphabet and the numbers. Yeah, so the aviation numbers is very different from our traditional numbers. So this is academic vocabulary. This is the first sub-skills of listening. And here are also some sub-skills. For example, identifying and understanding cohesive discourse markers, identifying main ideas, supporting ideas and examples, identifying redundancy in speech, identifying rhetorical patterns, identifying the speaker's assumptions, identifying unit boundaries, identify what information is relevant. Here, let me give you an example. And here is a task, and the students are required to listen to the two exchange and answer the questions. So based on listening and answering, we can know that the students are required to identify some main ideas, identify the speaker's assumptions, and identify what information is relevant. That's some of the sub-skills. And here are also another example. The students are required to listen to the exchange as the long-haul flight approaches its destination and answer the question. And here, the students are required to listen for specific information and predicting, inferring, and guessing from the context, and processing and evaluating information. So that's the skills of listening and some sub-skills of listening. Another skill is required is speaking in the book. For example, here is a task that requires the students to work with a partner and look at the pictures and ask ATC for delay in startup and explain why. In this task, the students are required to adopt and adapt commonly used spoken genres and are required to ask questions to get information, to clarify their points and manage their interactions. And here are some another sub-skills of speaking. They are required to building productive knowledge of spoken, general, academic, and technical vocabulary, to decide what information is relevant, to develop a good pronunciation, to develop fluency through the interaction, to employ hedging and persuasive devices, to explain main ideas, supporting ideas, and examples, to find ways to enter into a conversation, to organize their ideas using rhetorical patterns, and to plan and refine the deliveries through mental rehearsal, and to recognize the stance and the attitude of the audience. Okay, that's some sub skills of speaking. And here are some sub skills of reading. The students are required to build a receptive knowledge of written, general, academic, and technical vocabulary. First, the example here is the students are required to listen to the sample message and repeat. And they are required to identify and understanding cohesive and discourse markers to identify main ideas, supporting ideas, and to identify the writer's assumptions. They are they are to some extent they are the same like listening. I've given some examples. And the last one is some sub skills of writing. The students are required to adopt and adapt calmly use written genres. Required to cite and paraphrase information obtained from external sources and to decide what information is relevant, to organize ideas using rhetoric patterns, and to present main ideas. They are to some extent the sub skills is the same like writing. Yeah. So that's some sub skills of the 4 aspects: listening, speaking, writing, and reading. Yeah, here are some here are very here are many sub skills here.
So in this part, we only discuss the 4 basic skills.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that we in the first part we have mentioned some other skills, not just the 4 basic skills. That it has been reflected in this book.
Yes, I think to some extent they are integrate.
Okay.
Yeah, some meta cognitive skills. They are through the development of the 4 basic skills.
I think such you just mentioned like mental. That's very hard to explicit very clearly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you get some sub skills of the 4 basic and it is consciously, you get some meta cognitive skills.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a 2B part. That's a part of 2B focus on skills.
Thanks for your hard work thinking.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's move on through the C question.
Okay, C question, based on my analysis, the course book focuses on functions. I have some drafts. You know, language plays a very important role in human lives. It is a social phenomenon. One of the main goals of language is communicate with people and to understand them. In fact, we use language in many different ways. These are the informational expressive, and the directive, the fatigue, aesthetic. We use language, and that language is the part of society. Actually, any language varies according to the nature of the society, what kind of people, their attitudes. People use language according to their situation. Language has language has 5 functions. The 5 functions are very basic. They are informal, informational, expressive, directive, aesthetic, and emphatic. We all know that average English is average English belong to ESP. ESP belong to language. So in this aviation English textbook, the expression of the language function is mainly concentrated in the 7th chapter. In aviation English or other specific purpose English, the functional nature of a language is largely emphasized. The primary function of a language is communication. In order to avoid air accidents or crash plane or other flying hazards, English as an international aviation language plays the role of the communication medium. Only timely and current communication can give full play to the function of language. In this book, we can clearly see the 5 functions of language. Here, it's just 4 functions of languages that we can see in the textbook, in the course book. And the function the informational, the first function, concentrates on the message. It is used to give new information. It depends on truth and value. We can see the function from the content of chapter 7. The communicative function of an utterance corresponds to the speaker intention in producing a given message. For example, the intention may be to request information. For example, ATC said, Midland 5 number, Zulu good morning radar, contact proceeding into Kirky vectoring 02. Pilot said, director KK 02 Midland 5 number Zulu. Can we keep high speed? ATC said, the controller said, for the time, yes. This is example. And the second function, expressive function. That is, it can be used to express its originators, feelings, and attitudes. For example, here the C represents controller, P represents pilot. For example, thank responded to thanks and complain, express dissatisfaction like this. The third function here represents directive function. Is about order. We aim to influence the behavior or attitudes of others. Most straightforward instance of the direct function are commands and requests order. For example, you will let me know about your intentions for the main landing gear. Pilot said, UD vehicle will try to let the gear down again. If it remains up and I'm unable to release the nose gear, then we land with all 3 up. ATC said, Rock, so if you wish, you may come for go around and a visual check of your landing gear. Pilot say, okay. Here, the last sentence is, you will pass over the field and make a low pass over the runway 29 for landing gear check. It's order from controller. The pilot must follow. The fourth function is fatigue function, the function of keeping communication lines open. For example, greeting, when you use greeting, just the pilot and the controller to introduce to start a conversation. They must firstly they must have greeting and express concern or apprehension. Sometimes the controller give encourage to pilot. That's all. That's about the function on the textbook, on the course book, Aviation English.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, from your draft, I know you say the language has 5 functions, but you just explain about 4 functions. Why don't you explain the another one?
Another one is ethic. In my opinion, I cannot find evidence for the ethic function in the whole course book.
You mean in aviation English, there does not exist this kind of function. At least in this textbook, you cannot find the evidence from it.
Yeah, I cannot find evidence for the ethic function.
Maybe
you know, aviation English is applied in so the ethic function of language is sometimes focused on poem or essay that like the literature, not applied materials, applied.
Maybe
English.
we can after the video meeting, we also can try to find whether it exists in this book about the last
Okay.
function.
Try it again to find it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your
I think if it is a textbook, it's very obvious for us to find evidence for the final function, because based on my understanding and my my work on skills, there is some I cannot find some evidence for some sub skills too. So I think maybe we should try to find the some other skills and other functions in the course book, in this course book.
Yeah.
My function according to the linguisticism Leach is a conception. I according to the Leach's theory, I find some evidence to support the Leach's theory. Okay. After the meeting, I will find it again. I try.
Yes, and Shawnee, you also need to add your reference. Yeah, add your reference in your draft.
It's a draft about the Leach. I just have just using one Leach theory. I will add the reference now. After meeting.
And if you want to give some examples, I think the best way is to put a picture in the word. Picture, not type the word. Yes.
Maybe you just screen out the part that you gave in the example. Yeah, that's okay, I think.
And add the chapter and the page, some details.
I think maybe it's not that easy for him to add some picture, because the functions are through the whole task, the whole chapter and whole units. They are not, sometimes they are not separated, they are integrated. So that's my understanding.
Do you know the
That-
function in the aviation English? This is book. We can find the function focus on concentrates on the chapter 7. It's this whole chapter. Yeah, mainly writing many saying the function.
Yeah, we said when we give example of the tasks in the textbook, you can just screen out the.
Some people ask me help. Can I to answer that?
Yes,
Some
you can.
people call me. Okay, can I? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on. Last question. Okay. I speak first. Kexin.
Okay.
Okay, so I think this question is a little bit different from question B and C, because this word featured in the book and this is treated in the course book. I think we think this question is how other deal with the grammar in this course book. So this is our draft. Firstly, we make a conclusion about grammar. Grammar is not the most important part in this course book, because we find in the whole course book there are no specific chapters on grammar. The focus is generally lower on grammar than on skills and function. But what we want to emphasize is that grammar is always around the course book and is reflected in some exercise of chapters. So grammar is also necessary. So here are some examples. The first one is phrasal verbal collocation, sorry. And we put the picture here. Question 7 on page 24 is about this grammar. If the preposition collection is wrong, the sentence will be ambiguous, or even the sentence expression is completely wrong. The other people cannot understand you exactly and leading to communication barriers. And next example is modal verb. Can you start from here, Kexin?
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to share the textbook.
Okay.
Let me find
Stop
which.
the sharing.
Okay,
you can share the textbook.
24. Click this one. Can you see the mode?
Yes.
The question 6.
We can see.
Yeah, and the second example we use is the modal verb. It's the question 6 on page 24, and there are also other examples on modal verb is on the page 41. The modal verb is a special kind of verb, and it has the features of inversion and emphatic. It often precedes their origin form. Generally speaking, modal verbs are common grammar in our daily communication. The use of them also reflects the speaker's strong will and attitudes towards the situation. For example, if we use mustn't, it means strongly forbid. Well, we use may means the possibility of something. So when we're using modal verbs in our context, we should pay more attention to the grammatical rules of them and know the rules of we should know the rules of modal verbs. So it is very important to learn the modal verb and their functions. This we just use two examples of the grammar in this book, but it also have other grammars, such as the such as the future tense, the use of comparative, the use of the course of time, and the difference between when and how long, and so on. So, but from the whole book, we don't find so many parts just like skills or functions in the textbook. So we think the grammar is needed, but not the important part in the book. Yes.
It's embedded in all these tasks, such as in the sentence or in the no matter what, you have to have the grammar background, so you can complete this task correctly.
Yes. This exercise of grammar is always follow every chapter. Maybe in the end of the chapter, below the skills or function exercise, there is a grammar exercise here. Just one or two questions about the grammar.
They are embedded in every chapter, but not the most important, but is needed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is also how the author treated the grammar in this course book.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we have finished all the questions. That's right.
Yes. But I want to say that please speak the. Oh, sorry. See the. Let's share the screen. Okay. Here.
Here, where?
Scoring rubric for the written assignment here.
So we needed to write the assignment according to the scoring rubric.
Yes, and the due date is 18th June.
Yeah.
And here, I don't know whether you see it or not.
Yes, we can see it.
This is the specific scoring rubric. So we can have revise about our draft and put them together, and according to these requirements.
Yeah, the next week we can just sort out our materials and going to complete the written assignment.
Yes, and we can share our drafts into WhatsApp group, and
we can make some suggestion on this.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
So I think.
So today's discussion is end now, finish now.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's enough.
Okay.
We've talked a lot.
Okay, I will finish the camera. Oh, close the camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
See you.
Okay, bye.
We
See you next
Next
bye bye.
time.